Hello, my name is Rosa Brazil and I will teach you the basics of chess. I will be going over each piece, how each piece moves and captures, the layout of the board, and walk you through a game itself. Let's get started. First things first, learning the pieces. Quick note, most boards have letters A through H and numbers 1 through 8 on it. The white rook is placed on A1. Because my board doesn't have specific letters and numbers, I will just show you how they're supposed to be placed. I will begin with the outermost piece, the rook. The rook is placed on the outer corners of the board. The rooks can slide forward, backward, and side to side. Next in line is the knight. The knight moves in an L shape, either up 2 over 1 or up 1 over 2. It's important to know that the knight is the only piece that can jump over pieces. I will show you an example later on in this video. Next is the bishop. The bishop moves diagonal in its color. It can move back and forth as long as it stays on its color. Next is the queen. It's important to know that the queen starts on its color, so white on white, for this example, clear on clear and color on color. The queen can go any which way you want, as far as it wants, as long as the pathway is clear, just like the rooks and bishops. The queen does not have a cross on the top, and it's almost everyone's favorite, and known as the most powerful piece. The king is next. It does have a cross on it, and is placed next to the king. It is the most important piece in the game. The king can go whichever direction it wants, one space, as long as it's not putting itself in check and something is not blocking its pathway. Hypothetically, if the king was in the center of the board, it can go whichever way it wants. At this point, if you are placing the pieces as I am, your first row should be full. Last but not least, the pawns. The pawns are across the second row. The pawns can move up 2 on its first move, but only once after that. They capture diagonally. Don't worry, I will show you that in this video as well. Pawns are just as powerful as the power pieces. In fact, if you can get a pawn on the other side of the board, it can upgrade to any power piece you wish. There are other special moves that I will not be covering in this video. Your layout should look like this in the end. I will now show you a few hypothetical situations just to show you how things can move during a game. Let's just say that this is how the board is set up. Unlike other powerful pieces, you can move your knights out early by jumping over the pawn. And that is how knights capture pieces, as you see, staying in the motion I showed you previously. Now in this situation, you can see that pawns capture pieces. And lastly, if we were to set up like this, the rook can slide to any square it wishes, moving, as I showed you. It could have stopped on any square. Instead, I just showed you how it captures pieces. The rook in front of it just took it back. Excluding a special move that pawns do that I will not be covering in this video, these are how each piece captures. If it's in its pathway, it can be taken, excluding the king, which is called check. If you are wanting to move out of check, you can capture a piece, but if it is protected by another piece, you can't do that. So in conclusion, to win, you have to checkmate the king, or in other words, the king can't move and other pieces can't help the king get out of check. You can stop check by blocking the pathway with other pieces, capturing the piece with another piece, or simply moving the king. Be careful, because if the king is the last piece and can't move anywhere without being in check, but not in check, it is a stalemate and no one wins. Now, putting everything that I've shown you and told you, I think you are ready to play the game. I moved this pawn to challenge the bishop. He moved a pawn behind it to help protect his bishop. I take the bishop with my pawn because I'd rather lose a pawn and gain a bishop than just lose a pawn. Now be careful. I captured his pawn with my knight, not realizing that it was protected with the queen. Luckily, he didn't see it. Otherwise, I would have gave him a knight. I'm challenging his knight with my pawn. He had a pawn protecting that square. I took that pawn, still challenging his knight. So in this case, I forced him to move his knight. Luckily, he didn't see my queen, and I got a free knight. I moved the bishop, challenging his queen. And of course, he moves a pawn to protect the pathway of the queen. Luckily, I have a pawn protecting that square. At this point, I know this may be a little over your head, but I see checkmate. So I put his king in check with my queen, forcing him only in one place. I then move my bishop and putting him in check, forcing him in one place again. And now I move the pawn up one and checkmate him. The king can't move anywhere and no other piece can take that pawn. So my point being made that pawns are just as important as power pieces. I hope this video helped you on learning how to play. Thank you.